At Kroger, an annual Boost membership just got even better. Now you can choose from Disney Plus with ads, Hulu with ads, or ESPN Plus on us when you sign up. Plus, enjoy unlimited free delivery, double fuel points, exclusive offers, and free items. Sign up for a Boost membership today. It's an easier way to save, including new streaming options to relax with while we deliver your groceries. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Restrictions apply. See site for details. Stay warm and save every day, all in the Kroger app. Get 10 for $10 on select varieties of Kroger pasta, Starkist tuna pouches, or Powerade. Then get flavorful fresh Heritage Farm chicken split breast, drumsticks, or thighs for $1.49 a pound, all with your card. Shop these deals at your local Kroger, less than 5 miles away. Or tap the screen now to download the Kroger app to save big today. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Prices and product availability subject to change. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Good morning, everybody. Corey Hughes, Bloody History. So, obviously, I'm a little obsessive-compulsive when it comes to Kennedy, right? And lately, I have come to really got a grip on what they're fucking hiding. And what they're really fucking hiding are the real records for Lee Oswald, Harvey Oswald, Robert Oswald, not so much John Pick, Marguerite Oswald, Floyd Oswald, and Lillian Murret. That's what they're fucking hiding, okay? Whatever we're looking for, we don't even know what we're looking for yet. We think we're looking for the origins of the Harvey and Lee story, right? That's what we think we're looking for, but are we really looking for that? Is that really the genesis moment that we seek? I don't know that that's the case. I don't know that we're even asking the right questions. Still, there's been so much contradictory information, and to me, the biggest, of the past couple months, the biggest really kind of conclusion that I've drawn that nobody else seems to have fucking drawn because they're retarded is that Marguerite Oswald definitely worked for the Navy, and she worked for them between 1941 and 1944. Okay? She says it was in Algiers, but it wasn't in Algiers. Those addresses she gave were clearly in New York, and that's clearly where she met Ekdahl, not down in Texas. All right? So this kind of era is really fascinating to me, and I'm still going through Oswald's like New York school records trying to like meld them in my mind, and I'm having a real difficult time doing so. I literally sit down and look at this 17-page document that's got Oswald's psychological profile written by John Caro, and I can feel my brain start to leak out my fucking ears. So I get to it, I look at it for a couple minutes, and then my brain is like, ah, and I fucking move on. So I'm going to have to get to the bottom of this shit before my book is finished, because I'm about to start another book, in case you didn't know. I have a lot going on in as far as what we're going to be doing this year. So if you know or not, my business partner is Chris Matthew, and together we own the Forbidden Knowledge Network. And Forbidden Knowledge News, pretty good show, 5,000-6,000 listens per episode, plus the videos. Chris got into doing documentary stuff, and he did the Forbidden documentary this year. And he's gotten really good at it. We got distribution on Tubi and all the streaming services, and we're everywhere but Amazon, because Amazon's a bunch of cunts. But I am about to start multiple projects. Number one, I'm about to start the next book. I need to come up with a title for it, but it's going to be basically a clarification of John Armstrong's work, correcting some of the things that he got wrong, and correcting some of the errors that some other authors got wrong, because the reality of Harvey and Lee is undisputable at this point. So everybody's book who was correct about things, but they didn't incorporate the dual Oswalds, I'll have to correct some of that stuff, right? I'm currently reading The Missing Chapter, Lee Harvey Oswald in the Far East by, I think his name is Swike, Jack Swike. I'm only about halfway through, and he hasn't even implied that there's two Oswalds yet, and I haven't gotten to his section on Oswald, when he shoots himself and when he's in the fucking brig with VD and anal bleeding. Okay. To anybody who says that Oswald wasn't gay, tell me how someone gets anal bleeding and VD at the same time. So I haven't gotten far enough into Swike's work to see where his position on the two Oswalds is. It's funny, the level of hypocrisy of some Kennedy researchers over Harvey and Lee, particularly I'm thinking about James D. Eugenio. I found, because he's not a Harvey and Lee guy at all, but I fucking found a paragraph that he wrote on the lack of education forum that basically was him sucking John Armstrong's dick and praising him for the amount of work that he did. Anyone who denies the Harvey and Lee reality at this point is just kidding themselves. And they're ignoring the fact and denying the fact that our government intelligence systems go back way before the CIA. Way before. I've been talking to Wheezy about the body doubles involved in the Lincoln assassination and the body doubles of John Wilkes Booth. Was that a naval intelligence operation, the killing of Lincoln? I don't know. I don't know anything about the killing of Lincoln, other than they use body doubles, right? Body doubles have been used for all kinds of things. And there's a really succinct word for a body double, and that's a decoy. That's it. It's a decoy. That's all it is. And so at this point in time, the focus of my research in the short term is still on Oswald in New York, Lillian Murret and her intelligence connections, Dorothea Murret and her intelligence connections, because we got, like I said before, Dorothea and her mother, Lillian, flying in and out of the country multiple times during 1954, 1955, right? During the time that Lee is allegedly in New York City. I still can't figure that out. Why did that happen? Why did they go to the Air Force Base in Bermuda in April of 1954? I'm talking about Marilyn Dorothea Murret and her mother. And why did Lillian Murret go to Cuba in 1955? I don't know. Is there intelligence connections there? 1,000,000%. Okay. So I've already said that John Armstrong got a major cornerstone of his premise wrong. That he attributed a photograph of a woman with these 45-degree eyebrows at 126 Exchange Place as the fake Marguerite Oswald. He was dead fucking wrong. That woman is clearly Lillian Murret, and that house is not even 126 Exchange Place. It was Lillian Murret's house, and we know that because of the curtains that were present in the fucking 1962 Thanksgiving video. So, drives me fucking crazy. The little minute details that people who are smart, even like John Armstrong, got fucking wrong. It just drives me nuts. How do people get this shit wrong? How do you get a cornerstone of your own fucking research wrong? I don't know. I don't get it. But it's clear to me that Lillian Murret was a big part of this deception. A huge part. And was she the woman who lived at various places and claimed to be Marguerite Oswald? I think so. But today we're going to cover the testimony of Lillian Murret before the Warren Commission. I think it's pretty lengthy, and I think she's been interviewed a couple different times. But we're going to go over it because, number one, she contradicts herself a bunch of times in here. There's a part where she talks about seeing Marguerite at her house around John's birthday, John Murret, and then she had to backtrack that whole thing. She's like, oh, I don't remember when that was, because she wasn't supposed to have seen Marguerite for multiple years, right? And she lied about it. So why is there all this lying going on? Why are these people lying? Why are these people putting weird addresses on things, you know? And I don't remember if I mentioned this last time or not, but how much of the information we have from the letters that were sent from Marguerite to John Pick or anyone else with certain dates and return addresses on it, how many of those are faked and backdated? Because remember, we have the Carlos Bernier incident, and we have the faked letters from Oswald to V.T. Lee referencing the Bernier incident, right? So we know there's a precedent of them faking letters and getting them wrong, right? Faking letters and inserting them into the record and getting things wrong, right? We know that for a fact that they've done it. So who's to say that the letters from Exchange Place, 126 Exchange Place from October 1954 are just fakes? They could be just fakes. But then why would they fake them? What point would that have? You see, it doesn't make any sense why they would fake stuff like that. But how much of the role of that was played by Lillian Murret? And I'm going to say a big part of it, a big fucking role, because one of the things that really tipped me off to Mrs. Lillian Murret's duplicity was when John Armstrong is writing about Palmer McBride in Harvey and Lee. He shows Palmer McBride the photograph of the woman at 126 Exchange Place, allegedly. That's really Lillian Murret's house. And that picture is clearly Lillian Murret. And so he shows Palmer McBride the picture of Lillian Murret. But he thinks it's the false Marguerite, and he says, is this the woman that you saw? And Palmer McBride says, yes, that's the woman that I saw. So Palmer McBride didn't see the false Marguerite. He saw Lillian Murret. And Lillian Murret was with a person who claimed to have been Lee Harvey Oswald, right? So we can say with absolute certainty, based on the mistakes made by Armstrong, based on the testimony of Palmer McBride, that Lillian Murret was one of the caretakers of this child. Or a child, right? Because again, we go back to Myrtle Evans, and Myrtle Evans said this kid had blonde fucking hair, blonde curly hair, and he was very polite. Lee Harvey Oswald had black or brown hair. It was very dark. It was not, obviously the fake had a lighter brown hair, but like the real Oswald had dark hair, very dark hair. Not blonde hair, blonde and curly hair. So the person who stayed with the false Marguerite at Myrtle Evans' place, was that the real Oswald? Was it the fake Oswald? I keep getting hints that we're running into third parties being Oswald that we haven't covered yet, right? Like, because I am 99.99% positive that I can put both Lee and Harvey in the Far East at the time that Palmer McBride says that he was working with Oswald, right? Despite the fact that the travel records are wrong and there's some obfuscation over Oswald's records, looking at the employment records differ greatly from his duty assignments, the dates and times of deployments. So it's, to me, it's pretty clear that both of them were out in the Far East and that neither one of them could have done what Palmer McBride said, right? So who the fuck was it? It most certainly was not Harvey Oswald, the man arrested on November 22nd. It was certainly not him. He was in Corregidor through January 58, possibly. I actually have a date of December the 22nd, which is when he actually should have left Corregidor, a date of around the 27th of December when he should have arrived back at Atsugi. So, and we have Palmer McBride saying October through May. That's problematic big time. So I don't know really what's going on there. Then you have another question, like, is the person who was in Corregidor our Oswald? Because he kind of looks a little weird, looks a little different. Can't really say it isn't, but something about him just doesn't strike me. The person who was in Corregidor looks like the person who was in graduating class 2060, for sure. But that person doesn't really look like our Oswald. Not really. So I don't know what the fuck's going on here, people. But things are afoot. But needless to say, my point was that I got both of those guys in the Far East, and Palmer McBride was dealing with somebody else. That hints at a third person impersonating Oswald. You got to just ask yourself why. Why, if both Oswalds are overseas, would they have another Oswald that they're nurturing here in the States for a couple months, it seems? I don't know. But let's begin here, because otherwise I'm just going to ramble for 40 fucking minutes. So the conversation is between Mr. Jenner and Lillian Murret. And I'm going to skip the preamble questions. I always hate those. And, all right. It says, all right, just sit back and relax. There's nothing going to happen to you. We just want to ask you what you know about Oswald, his mother, and others whom he came in contact with, and to your knowledge. Do you want me to just tell you what I know about his life? Yes, as far as you know. I will just ask you questions, and I believe it will help us if you just answer them to the best of your knowledge. I will if we might get the lady a glass of water. I wonder if we can get the lady a glass of water. Miss Murret, let me orient you for a moment. You're the sister of Lee Harvey Oswald's mother, are you not? Yes, I am. First, what's your maiden name, Mrs. Murret? Claverie. How do you spell that? Claverie. And what's your first name? Lillian. Yes, sir. Were you born in New Orleans? New Orleans, yes, sir. And have you always lived in New Orleans? Yes, sir. Were your brothers and sisters born here? They were. In New Orleans? Yes, sir. So that you all are native-born Americans, is that right? Yes, sir. Native to Louisiana, Cajuns. Cajun and American. That's right. Then all the family are native-born Americans, is that right? Well, not my grandparents. Not your grandparents. No, on my father's side, we're from France, and my grandparents on my mother's side were from Germany. Now, Mrs. Murret, once in a while I may have to ask you a question which is a little personal, but please accept my word that it's in good faith and that it's pertinent to this investigation. My first personal question is, what is your age? I'm 64. I'll be 64 in May 17th. How old's Marguerite? I think she should be 57. Marguerite, I should say, is the sister of Mrs. Murret. Now I would like to have you tell me something about her, how many times she was married, to whom, in chronological order. Well, I'll tell you all I know about her. I've known her all her life, you know. She was first married to Edward John Pick. Edward John Pick. That's right. Is that P-I-C? Yes. I think we have that as John Edward Pick. Is there an explanation for that, do you think? Well, I think they just reversed the name around because the child is John Edward, but I think the father's name was Edward John because I think they always called him Eddie. Now, I don't know which way it is. All right. Do you happen to recall when that marriage took place? Well, I wouldn't remember what year, or anything like that when the marriage took place. I know about how long they were married. I think they were married about 2 years, but I'm not really too accurate as to years. Well, as closely as you can come to it. I know what happened, but the dates I don't exactly recall because I have my own affairs to take care of, so I can't remember dates in her life. But anyway, she was married to Eddie for 2 years, we'll say. Let me interrupt you for a minute. Let me tell you something about the marriage. Who was he? Did the marriage take place here? Were you present? What do you know about the marriage? I don't know too much about the marriage. I don't think it took place here. I just don't know about anything about that. It might have taken place over the Gulf Coast. I don't know if I'm right on that or not, that it has been so long ago, but Marguerite did know Eddie a very long time. She'd known him for some time before she married him. Oh, yes. Had you known him for some time before she married him? Yes, sir. What was his business or occupation? Well, Eddie worked for Smith. I think they're stevedores. What did he do as a stevedore? Well, I don't know what type of work he did. I think it was clerical work. I think he is still with the same people. He's alive? Oh, yes. I think it's T.B. Smith or something like that. I don't know what the initials stand for. T as in Thomas. Yes. And B as in Benny. Yes, sir. Smith, yes. And you think Edward John Pick is still employed by them? Yes, he is. Some kind of clerical work as far as I know. The reason I know he is because Mr. Murret, who works on the river, saw him out there, but it was from a distance. Your husband works on the riverfront, does he? Yes. Were you married to your husband before or after Marguerite married Edward John Pick? I was already married. You were already married then? Yes, sir. And your husband does have an acquaintance with Edward John Pick, does he? Oh, no. Maybe he just occasionally will see him from a distance, but he's never spoken with him. In fact, I don't even think I would know Eddie Pick if I saw him on the street. That's been so long ago. I don't think I would recognize him myself. Eddie Pick was a very peculiar type of boy. You might say a person who did not talk unless you spoke to him, and they would come over to my home for dinner or something, and he would sit there all day long, and he would say anything. Now, I don't know whether all this is important. I guess some of it is. Don't you worry about whether you think it's important or not, Mrs. Murret. We'll decide that once we get all this information assembled. You just tell me what you know of all this, anything that comes to your mind that you think might be important to the commission in this investigation. Well, at the beginning, when she married Eddie, she said he wasn't fair. He told Marguerite that he was making more money than he was over there, and he had to go back to work. And she worked for Mr. Sear. He was one of the lawyers in a law firm at that time, and Marguerite worked for him. It was the firm of Goldberg, Kammer, and somebody else, all lawyers. Was Sear a lawyer? Yes, they were all lawyers. They were all three lawyers together. He was secretary there at first, but then he became a lawyer too. How do you spell his name? Mr. Sear. Yes, S-E-R-E. Is Mr. Sear still alive? He is not. He's dead? Yes. All right, just go ahead now with what you know about Marguerite's first marriage. Well, the way I understood it, and this is only what she told me now, I know nothing, other than that, but she said Eddie had lied to her on how much money he was making at this place, and that it was a very small salary that he made, and he went out and rented a house in the city park section, which was very high rent. Then it seemed he signed a lease and all that, and then after that, Eddie must have told her in the meantime what he was making over at that place, and they couldn't possibly have stayed there and paid that rent on his salary. So he asked for her job back again, so they took her back, and then they paid for furniture, and they got and so forth while she was working. How old was she then? Oh, well, let's see. John must be about 31 years old now. You mean her son, John? Yes. They were married, I think, maybe 4 years before John was born. I don't know the dates or the times or anything, but You can figure that she's 57 now. John's 31. Well, he would have been 26, or she would have been 26 when he was born. Would that be about right? 26? I don't think she was that old. I don't know. Well, 31 from 57 is 26. Yes, well, she could have been, but I didn't think she was that old. I thought maybe she might have been around 23 years old. Let's see. Well, John wasn't born until 4 years after she was married, you see. Oh, well, that would be 26 less 4, so it would be 22 years. Yes, I think that was, she was 22 or 23, somewhere in there. I don't think she was 26 yet. So obviously you can tell there's some problems already with this testimony, right? Lillian is grasping at straws for answers. Why? I don't know. It's just about how old she was when she had her kid, which is easily verifiable. So what's going on here, Miss Murret? So we can say that she married when she was about 22 years old. Is that right? Yes, I would think that's about right. Well, see, that doesn't make any sense because her testimony just said that she was 22 or 23 when she had John, but now she's confirming she was 22 or 23 when she married Edward, which would put her at 26 when she had John, you fucking idiot. Jesus Christ. So she doesn't know what she's supposed to say here. Why? Why is there a controversy over how old Marguerite was when she had John Pick? Why is there controversy here? Why is Lillian tripping over her own words so early in this testimony? What was her formal education? She had a high school education. Here in New Orleans? Yes, McDonald High School. She lived with Mr. Pick, say, about 2 years, and then they moved into another location. That answer has nothing to do with the question, if you'll notice. They were first in this apartment in the City Park area. Notice how they just got away from her education really quickly, right? Because Marguerite Oswald is not alleged to have graduated high school, but yet she graduated high school on several applications. It was indicated on the census that she graduated high school. And they just flubbed over it really quickly. That's a clue. Well, that was during the time that she left Mr. Pick previous to that. Let's start back. You said something about his having lied to her as to his income, did you not? Yes. Then I believe you said he rented an apartment in the City Park area. Is that right? That's right. And she found out when they were there or whatever occurred that he was not able to pay the rent on the salary he was making. Is that right? Yes. And so she went back to work. Yes. Now she remained married to him and lived with him, didn't she? Yes. All right. They lived in the City Park area how long? I don't know how long they lived there. I really don't. But I was thinking of another time when she lived in the City Park area. That was what I was referring to. You see what she's doing here? This is anti-interrogation training. Plain and simple. What she's doing is anti-interrogation training. You see how she's now picking what she said and saying, oh, no, that was another time. This is all meant to obfuscate the record. By the time we get done with this testimony, you're not going to have a fucking clue what's going on. I don't know how long they lived there. I really don't. But I was thinking of another time when she lived in the City Park area. That was when I was referring to. We can come to that later. Let's just keep this in sequence if you don't mind, and we'll cover it all. Yes, sir. So then they rented a house in another section. I have forgotten which section that was. Oh, really? She forgot which section that was? Here in New Orleans? Oh, yes. And it was during this time when she became pregnant. Was that when they had the house? Yes, while they were in this regular home, that they rented. It was in the lower section. I forget what section it was, probably somewhere up in the Carrollton section. Carrollton? Yes, sir. So then during that time, she became pregnant, and I remember she came over my house, and she said that she was pregnant and asked what she was to do, that Eddie refused to support her. She said that he refused to give her any money because of the fact she was pregnant. Hang on a second. Let me pause right here for a second. Let me pause right here. And I'm pausing right here because I'm thinking of what would people do 100 years ago, right? What was the mentality of people in the 1930s and 40s? I'm pausing here because I'm crunching timelines in my head. And I'm looking at this fact, and in this testimony here, it's becoming stated that Ed Pick didn't want to be with her because she was pregnant and he didn't want kids. But when he gives his testimony, he's like, that's not the case at all. He's like, I didn't have a problem with kids. He's like, we just didn't get along. Things didn't work out. He agreed to support her. How much you want to fucking bet that he knew that that wasn't his child? How much you want to bet that he hadn't fucked her in months? And he knew that that was not his child? How much you want to fucking bet that Ed Pick is not the father of John Pick? How much you want to bet? Last time I checked, fucking Robert Oswald's pretty short. He's about 5'6", 5'7", with dark brown eyes and dark brown hair. That's about the same description as John Pick. Not Robert Oswald and Lee Harvey Oswald, who had blue eyes and light gray eyes. Not at all. The description of Ed Pick, or John Pick, God damn it, I keep doing that. See, and this is what fucks me up. I keep doing that. It's John Pick. John Pick is probably the actual son of Robert Oswald, and then having been introduced to Robert Oswald's family, I'm starting to become of the notion that Harvey Oswald, the brother of Robert Edward Lee Oswald Sr., is the father of at least one of these children. Not Robert Oswald, who was short with brown hair and dark brown eyes. To have two sons with blue eyes and blue eyes and gray eyes. See, we don't even know if they're brothers. I'm sorry if I get tripped up in my own lingo sometimes, but so this would correlate with why Marguerite Oswald, when she wrote to John Pick, said the anniversary of the death of Daddy is coming up, meaning Robert Oswald in that letter, and how she told him that his father was dead his whole life. She probably named him John Pick, John Edward Pick, after Edward Pick, when she was starting to maintain a charade that it was actually his. But then when she knew the gig was up, it was too late to do anything about it. That's probably what fucking happened. What a fucking vile, disgusting woman this person is. She deserved to die in fucking loneliness, misery, and squalor. Unfortunately, the lady who died as Marguerite Oswald, we know is not the real Marguerite Oswald, so we don't have any fucking idea. We really need to exhume about a dozen bodies and DNA test these fucking people. Put an end to all this nonsense. All these people are still around. Their bodies are buried in New Orleans. The various cemeteries. Harvey Oswald's still around. Robert Oswald's still around. They could exhume every one of these fucks and DNA test all of them. Or somebody with balls needs to go and break into these fucking tombs and steal some DNA. Yep. All right, let me continue on with this testimony here. Yes, sir. So then during that time, she became pregnant, and I remember she came over to my house and told me she was pregnant and asked what to do because Eddie refused to support her. She said that he refused to give her any money because of the fact she was pregnant. He didn't want any children? He didn't want any children, that's right. This would have been when they were married approximately 3 years. Would that be about right? About 3 years married. Yes, sir, about right. Notice she said they were married 2 years when this thing started. So now they're married 3 years because she doesn't know a fucking thing because she's winging this as she's going. Were you and Marguerite generally fairly close? We were close. Very close? Yes. So here Miss Murret's saying that they're very close, but when Marilyn Dorothea Murret testifies, she said they were always on the outs. You tell me which is true. Yes, when my mother died, she left 6 children. And we were all young. My brother was the eldest, and I came next, and Marguerite was about 3 or 4 years old at that time, I think. Maybe at this point we should get to the names of all your brothers and sisters. Your father died when? My father? Yes. Well, he died about 33 years ago. 33 years ago. Okay, hang on a second. Let me go off on a conspiracy tangent here, okay? Miss Murret here, when she says that he died about 33 years ago, she's not the first person to mention the number 33 in their testimony. I found at least 3 people mention the number 33 in their testimony. I don't know if it's a signal. I don't know what the fuck's going on here. But my mother died. I'll tell you when she died. She died in 2016. How many years ago is that? I couldn't even fucking tell you. 8? 9? Off the top of my head? I don't know. But she knows it's about 33 years ago? No, sorry. I don't buy it. And is that even correct? John Marshall Claverie died in 1930, so it would have been 34 years. 34 years, not 33 years. Jesus Christ, I'm losing my mind. About that, yes. That would be approximately 1932. Is that about right? Yes. No, he died in 1930, you cunt. Leaving your mother and your children, is that right? Yes. Now, when did your mother die? My mother died about 1911. Oh, she preceded your father. Yes. So when your father died, you children were orphans. Is that right? Yes. Well, that's not really right because John Marshall Claverie married Doris, I believe it was Doris Ducky, the sister of the mother of all these children. Or so we are led to believe. And honestly, I kind of do believe that because they were in their 50s when they got married. So the odds of her popping out a kid in her 50s is pretty fucking slim. So yes, I've kind of ruled that notion out. At that time when your father died, you were around 34 years of age. You can be an orphan at 34? What bullshit is this? Nonsense. I was married when my father died. I had 3 children when my father died. 1 child was a baby. Now, could I have the names of just your family? That is, yourself, your sisters, and your brothers. I have 2 brothers. 2 brothers, and we were 4 sisters. All right, now give me the brothers' names. Their names were Charles and John. Charles Claverie and John Claverie. That's right. Are they still alive? No. They died while at a very young age. They died 5 months apart. Were they teenagers? No. One boy was possibly 23 and the other was about 18. The elder one contracted tuberculosis, and that was during World War I. He was in the Navy. Was that Charles or John? Charles. And then John died. He also had TB. And he died at what age? Around 18. And you had 4 sisters, you say? Well, including myself. Yes, including yourself. That's right. All right. 1 sister was Marguerite. Yes. Yourself, Lillian. Who else? Aminth. Is that Aminthe? Yes, sir. Is that pronounced Aminth? Yes, sir. Aminth. Okay, so this is Aminth Jean, who would go on to be Aminth Jean Carter. Not Aminth Voitier, who would be a niece of her, I think, maybe? Aminth. That sounds French, is it? Yes, it is French. All right. What's the other sister's name? Pearl. She died. Pearl is dead. Yes. Where is Aminth living present time? Aminth is living in Knoxville. Knoxville, Tennessee. Tennessee, yes. I take it Charles was the oldest. Yes. And I was next. You were next. Yes. And then John was next. John was next. Yes. And then Pearl, and then Marguerite, and then Aminth. Now let me get those down by number. Number 1 was Charles. Number 2 would be you, Lillian. Yes. John was 3rd. John was 3rd, that's right. Marguerite was 4th. And Aminth was 5th. How about Pearl? Oh, let's see, that's wrong. Aminth was 6th, and Pearl was 5th. Yes, Pearl was 5th. No, that's still wrong. I'm sorry, is this bitch even related to these women? How the fuck do you not know that? I only have 1 sister, and we're not even overly close. I haven't really paid over much attention in my whole fucking life. But I know everything about her, down to her birth date, where she went to school, when she graduated. Like, I know all this stuff because I was there as she was fucking growing up, and I don't forget anything. So, how the fuck does this bitch forget shit? This drives me fucking nuts when people are like, I just don't remember. You have the most complex fucking system in the universe inside your fucking cranium, and you're telling me you can't use it to remember something? Go fuck yourself. Oh, I'm growing to hate these people. Yes, Pearl was 5th. No, that's still wrong. Aminth was 6th. Marguerite was 5th, and Pearl was 4th. You see, she's got it all confused. All right, now I've got it. I will recite it now just so that we have it straight on the record. There was Charles, Lillian, then John, then Pearl, then Marguerite, and then Aminth. Is that right? Yes, sir. How old was Pearl when she died? She died recently. She was about 54. She was in her 50s. Yes. She died of natural causes. Yes, sir. I mean, she didn't have tuberculosis or anything like that. No. What was the occupation of your father? My father was a motorman for the New Orleans Public Service. He worked for them approximately around 40 years. When you say a motorman, do you mean a streetcar motorman? Yes, they had those handbrakes at the time, and he had taken out the first mule car, I think, when they had mule cars, before they had the handbrakes on cars. All right. Now, did any of your children have a formal education beyond high school? No. Wait a minute. Well, hold on a second. Hang on a second. Okay, never mind. All right. Did any of you children, not your children, because if it was your children, then she'd be full of shit here. But because you got kids who have like fucking master's degrees and stuff. So, no. Did you all attend and finish high school other than John, who died when he was 18? No. Well, did John finish high school? No. Did Charles? No. Charles went into the Navy during the wartime. He made out about, I don't know how many trips through Germany, and he was on his transport when the United States seized the Frederick de Gross. And he wrote a beautiful history of his trip, and I loaned it out to somebody, and I never did get it back. How unfortunate. Yes, I never did get it back. It was really everything, happened on this trip, coming and going from New York to Germany, back and forth. He was a gunner. On the transport or battleship or destroyer or cruiser? On the transport. He was a gunner on a transport? Transport, yes, sir. Now, Marguerite is alive, and you are alive, and Amenth is alive. Is that right? That's right. Amenth is alive, too. Really? Amenth was alive at the time, and they didn't interview her for the Warren Commission? Did you complete high school? I did not. I did not even go to high school. You did not? No. Did you complete elementary school? Yes, sir, I did. What about Pearl? I don't think she went to high school. If she did, it was probably just a year or so. She was married at an early age. I think you said that Marguerite did complete high school, or did she? I can't remember if she completed high school or not, but she may have. I really don't remember that. If she said she did, then she did. I can't remember because, you see, we were 6 children, and my mother died, and my father's sisters lived here, and we had some cousins who used to come over and help us, and of course, I being the eldest, I was pretty busy with everything in those days. We were just trying to keep the family together, more or less. You see, my father wouldn't give us any of us children up and so forth, and so they used to come over and help us out and cook, and when I got old enough, I took over, and when the others got old enough, they would help out, and that went on and on. We did pretty well. We were a happy family. We were singing all the time, and I often said that we were much happier than the children are today, even though we were very poor. My father was a very good man. He didn't drink, and he was all for his family. He didn't make much salary, but we got along all right. The reason I'm inquiring into these things is that all of this will assist the commission in getting the background of the family and relatives of Lee Harvey Oswald. The reason I'm saying that is I don't want you to think I'm just being curious. No, I understand. Okay, so let me pause right here. How the fuck is asking about how Marguerite interacted with her first husband in 1929? What does that have to do with the assassination? Nothing. Did they go into this extraordinary background research on fucking James Earl Ray? Nope. Nope. They sure didn't. This is something I need to emphasize. As you read through virtually all of the familial testimony for the Warren Commission, every single fucking question that Liebler and Jenner and Eli and all these guys ask, all of it has to do with determining who knew and what were the circumstances surrounding the second Oswald. I'm telling you, this has none of this questioning has anything to do with anything other than to determine for them so they know whether or not who knows about the duplicate Oswalds. And I have no doubts things like when she says my father died 33 years ago. And when I have other people giving the number 33 in their testimony, that they're fucking sending a signal that, hey, you need to back off of this testimony. No doubts whatsoever. I'm trying to find out the family background so that we can ascertain to what extent all of you were involved with Lee Harvey Oswald. You understand? No, that's bullshit. They know that these people were not involved with him. Yes, it's nothing I'm ashamed of. I'm glad I had the life I did because I have something to look back to because we were very happy. We didn't have anything and we just did the best we could and we were all together and we worked together and we made out all right. I understand. Now, was Marguerite happy or would you say that she was resentful to any extent about anything? Or what was her attitude and demeanor, as you recall it? Just tell me about her personality. No, I don't think she was resentful in any way. She was like a very pretty child, a very beautiful girl, and she doesn't look today at all like she used to, You wouldn't recognize her. You don't say. I think she's nice looking. Well, not like she was years ago. She was a very pretty girl, and I don't think she was resentful of anybody. That's not true. Every goddamn person she talked to, she told about how resentful she was, about how her husbands kept dying and she has all these children, no money. I mean, she was resentful of the fucking world, of everything. There seems to be some inability on her part to get along with people. That's really what I'm driving at. What do you know about that? Well, I find that I didn't get along with her myself at all the time because our ideas were very different on things. And of course, she was a different person. If you disagreed with her, if you expressed an opinion that she didn't agree with, then she would insist that you were wrong. How did you and Marguerite get along now? Well, we get along very well. If one or the other don't say nothing, you see, I'm forgiving, but she is not. Tell me more about that. Tell me more about when you were girls and how you got along then. Well, when we were girls, we got along. Well, did you have to give in order to get along with her or anything like that? I guess I was too busy taking care of 5 children to think about anything like that. I mean, I didn't realize anything like that. We did get along pretty well. Okay, so if you'll notice, she's jumping timelines because she didn't have 5 children until the fucking 30s. And he's questioning her about their growing up together when they should be in like the teens. So, fuck she talking about? See, this is all anti-interrogation training. They teach you to answer questions that are not. I'm going to dig up some information on anti-interrogation training, and we'll go over that just so I can show you what she's fucking doing here. We did get along pretty well. Mr. Jenner says, now let's get to the period about your girlhood when you had your own families. Let's start with the time during her marriage to Edward John Pick. Did your relation remain fully cordial, or did you begin to find that there were times you would have to yield, whether or not you were careful about what you said so as not to excite her or get in an argument with her or anything like that? That's a very specific question. Well, I don't think I had to be careful with what I said. Maybe if I thought she wasn't right, I would tell her she wasn't right. I never did feel I had to be afraid to tell her anything, just to keep peace or something like that. If I thought she was wrong, I would just tell her why she was wrong, why I thought she was wrong, because there were things that we just didn't think alike. You did not. No, we didn't think alike, and of course, she thought I was wrong. She thought you were wrong. Yes, she did. So then I would, forget about it, in other words. But it didn't seem like she could forget about anything. She would just, fly off. So you would forgive her, but she wouldn't. Was that it? Yes. This propensity on her part not to forget, was that a source of irritation? And did that evidence itself in your avoiding controversy and others in your family avoiding controversy with her? Oh, no. Okay, so he's leading the conversation. I don't understand why he's pulling it in this direction, but he's doing that. He's trying to get her to give an answer that she didn't naturally give. So I don't know what the fuck his problem is. All right, now coming to later years, was there any change? Did you avoid any difference of opinion with her or anything that you can recall of that nature? Well, in later years, whatever dissensions we had or whatever it was that we would have a controversy over, she would just go off and she wouldn't write or anything, and she wouldn't hear from her and so forth, just until something turned up where she probably needed assistance or a place to stay. Or she was coming to New Orleans and for us to put her up and everything. I never did hold anything in, what I mean, things like that. The remainder of your family, your older brothers and sisters, I think they remained in and about the New Orleans area. Is that right? Well, they did for a while. Well, they remained in and about New Orleans except for your sister Amenth. Is that right? Yes, she moved. She moved to Knoxville. But the rest of your family stayed here in the New Orleans area. Well, my brother stayed. Hang on a second. Okay, so it says, the remainder of your family, your older brothers and sisters, I think they remained in and about the New Orleans area. Is that right? Well, they did for a while. Well, they all remained in and about New Orleans except for your sister Amenth. Isn't that right? Well, see, here's the thing. Amenth has moved to Knoxville, okay? Amenth moves to Knoxville. The 2 boys are dead, so who's left? Pearl, Marguerite, Mancy, and Lillian. Okay. Well, my brother stayed. They were very young, and of course, long before I was married, they died. So there really wasn't anyone left, except Marguerite and I. She lived with me when I first got married. She stayed with me then. See, here's the thing. And I can't believe I can't remember that guy's fucking name who wrote that book about Amenth Voitier. But his supposition is that The false Marguerite is Amanthe Voitier, who's the son of, or the daughter of Paul Polo Voitier, who was the bodyguard for Huey Long that I talked about before, right? So this is a different Amanthe. This Amanthe went to Knoxville. Okay, they're all related, but his theory was that Marguerite's sister Mancy did go to live in Knoxville. That's a fact. And he supposes that Marguerite went to Knoxville also. Okay. He supposes that Marguerite went to Knoxville also. And that's where Marguerite Oswald and Amanthe Voitier, and Amanthe over there got close. But see, it's a different Amanthe that we're talking about, so never mind. But he suggested that Marguerite lived in Knoxville with that family for a time. And I just don't have any evidence for that, you know? Yes, my father and my husband and myself, we all stayed together. Yes, and then around 1930, the 1930 census, it shows that John Marshall Claverie was actually living with Dutz Murret and Lillian Murret at their house on Dumaine Street, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it the Hennessy address? It might have been the Hennessy address before the French Street address. I'm not too sure. You and your husband and your father. Oh, this is when they were on Esplanade in Roman. Sorry. This is a totally another address I forgot that they had. They went on Esplanade. Marguerite is not on the census at Esplanade, but she's on the one at Dumaine. What's the business or occupation of your husband? What's his occupation? Why would she ask that question? She asked the question when she heard him clearly. Yes, he's a clerk he works for different companies, but mostly for Mr. Jackson. He works at different wharves, in other words. Different what? At different wharves on the riverfront. You see, he doesn't belong to a union, so therefore he doesn't stay at one wharf. He transfers to where they have work, and sometimes if one don't have work, he will work for someone else. Oh, they just kind of wrapped that up really quickly. Tell me about what else you know about John Pick. What else? Yes, about Edward John Pick. These fucking people, I swear to God, are low IQ morons. Well, about all I know about him is what she told me. She said John wasn't supporting her because she told me that she was pregnant and he refused to give her any money. It was a payday, I think, when she told me that. I spoke to John, but John didn't give me any satisfaction, whatever. He didn't say a thing or anything. What was the reason or anything? Did nobody pull out back in those days? I mean, like, it seems like every time everyone got fucked, they just had a kid. Jesus Christ, these people unfucking, just like we were savages 100 fucking years ago. Did you discuss with him his refusal to support Marguerite? No, she left John. See, they're mixing up the names again, but it's very easy to do. Did she leave him? Oh, yes. You see, she was that way very quick. She would do things on the spur of the moment, where maybe somebody else would think it over before acting. I always think things over and give it a chance to cool off before I do something, but not Marguerite. When she left him, she didn't get a divorce. She just separated. He got half the furniture and she got half the furniture, I think, before they were divorced. Before they were divorced, yes. Now, if I may return a minute, you said she was very quick. Yes, sir. But would you elaborate on that a little? Yes, if I can. I'm trying to find out as much as I can about her personality. Now, when you said she was quick, do I get an inference from she was hasty or impulsive, or she would act without thinking, or what? Yes, she would do that. She was quick in making up her mind about anything that happened. She made decisions very fast without sleeping on them. Not like me. I always try to sleep over a problem if I have to make a decision, because a lot of times I will have a different outlook on the thing the next day, but not Marguerite. She would just act right now regardless of the consequences once she made up her mind. That's what I mean. In other words, when she would do something and she just was like that, and she made quick decisions. Was this a personality trait that she had as a young girl as well as a mature lady? I don't remember anything like that before she was married. I mean, as we lived as sisters in the same house, no. It was after she left home then, would you say, that she began to develop that trait, or that you began to detect this quick acting in her personality? Yes, I would say so. And you think she failed to think things over, that she didn't sleep on them, which is an illustration you gave a few minutes ago, but that she acted quickly when something happened or when she needed to reach a decision. Is that it? Yes, that's right. She failed to sleep on something before she acted. Is that right? Yes, she was too quick. I would have thought things over, but she wouldn't. In other words, she was impulsive. Would you call it that? You can call it that if you'd like. Well, I'm just trying to shape this up into the reality that you knew about Marguerite and about her personality behavior. I don't mean to put words in your mouth now. Anytime if I show a tendency to do that, it's inadvertent. But as it does happen, I want you to say that isn't quite the way you meant it. Yes, sir. I want you to put it in your own words. Do you understand? Yes, sir. Would you elaborate now a little more on this personality characteristic that we've discussed? I'm interested in that. Well, we went to live in Carrollton, which is in the City Park section of town. In Carrollton. Would you spell it for me? Carrollton. Carrollton. Yes, sir. You'll have to forgive my Midwest accent, which differs from my Louisiana, which differs from yours. Yes, it's my Southern drawl. Well, I wouldn't call it a Southern drawl. You have a distinct Louisiana accent. It's different. Louisiana accent is not a lazy sort of thing. It has a reasonable sharpness of enunciation, which you don't find, say, in Mississippi and some parts of Louisiana. I just came from Dallas, and they pronounce words with a drawl there. That's as long as your arm. I happen to be a Midwesterner myself, so my accent is hard. I mean, with a sharp enunciation. Well, during that time, she was suing Eddie for a divorce. Now, she was working at that time? No, she was not working then. How was she being supported? Eddie was supporting her. Even though they were separated, he was supporting her. Well, I don't know if he was supporting her by that time or not, but I know during the course of the divorce, he had to pay Marguerite's alimony, and he contributed a very fair amount, and he contributed a very good amount to John Edward, and he received until he was 18 years old. Well, that was pursuant to a decree of the court, I suppose. Yes, of course, during that time when John was about 2 years old, she married Mr. Oswald. All right, so let's see if that's correct. So he's born in 32. Robert Oswald's born in 34. I don't know. What year did she marry Robert Oswald? 33 or 34, I thought. Oh, well. But, all right, guys. We're only 10 pages into 64 pages, and so we're going to be on this for about a week or so. And so I'm going to wrap it up today. And once again, thank you very much to Diana Thomas for all the work that you've been putting in and sharing with me. And if anyone else is interested in research, we have a research Telegram chat. But it's pretty. Well, there's only 6 of us in there, and it's pretty hardcore. So if you're interested, if you're a serious researcher and you're interested in connecting, shoot me an email, and we'll do that. But that's gonna do it for me, guys. We'll be back on Monday. I'll be back on Monday. So that's it for me, guys. Thanks.